How we doing? We're back. Today, I got my Santa hat, wearing Ice Helm, talking about the Asheborn. So the Asheborn, they are one of the three major crime syndicates within Ice Helm itself. The Asheborn have a monopoly on the canal. They control all traffic that goes through the port of Ice Helm from the North Sea to the South Sea and vice versa. So any trade that goes from the Southern Hemisphere to the Northern Hemisphere is going to have to go through their hands. And through this, they've been able to establish multiple smuggling routes throughout the world. And if you want to move anything within the world, they are some of the best people to do it. They're known worldwide for their ability to do this, and so it's very common for people to seek out ships that are going through these ports and book passage on them with their goods in order to get them to this location, then they can smuggle them anywhere throughout the world. So the name Asheborn is actually derived from the event that forged them, as opposed to anything to do with them and their current activities or the nature of the location that they're at. Originally, the canal was not controlled by the Asheborn. There was a free guild called the Movers Guild that controlled this territory. So due to the effects of the Great War happening down in Arathia about 76 years ago, this led a large drought in trade for many years afterwards. There was kind of this lag delay of the effects of the war that happened in the rest of the world because it was such a worldwide event. So the Movers Guild actually ran into a lot of financial issues, and they ended up taking out loans from a guild called the Lions Guild. Now, the Lions Guild, for a long time, they were a loan shark organization because the Movers Guild had burned through all of their debt with their good creditors. They needed to get money, they needed to get it fast, and they stopped caring really where they were getting it from. So the Lions Guild ended up giving them these massive loans at very high interest rates that the Movers Guild was simply not able to repay when business did not pick up like they expected them to. So the Lions Guild moved in to collect on several of their debts. They started to seize property and assets, but the Movers Guild, being so influential and being the center hub of commerce within Ice Helm, they were able to band together with several of the other guilds and maintain their standing where they really shouldn't have. It was a really crappy situation, and they essentially got the Lions Guild put into a lot of trouble for attempting to seize these assets. So the rest of the guilds more or less told the Lions Guild, well, you're SOL. This is just part of doing business here. So the Lions Guild simply did not accept this. They formed a massive coup of the Movers Guild itself. They captured family members, high-ranking officials, and straight up murdered low-level officials. And when this did not work to get the Movers Guild to pay up on their debts simply because they didn't have them, Lions Guild simply burned the canal itself. They went through systematically and methodically, took everything of value, burned everything else, and made the canal so it simply sat there, unusable. And the Movers Guild were essentially eradicated. Now at this point, the Lions Guild came to the city itself and said, we have seized the assets of importance due to the loans and the debts that the Movers Guild owed us. We will rebuild the canal and get commerce flowing through here again, but we maintain ownership of this. The rest of the guild community was more or less forced to give in to the now claimed Asheborn Guild's demands, and they moved forward with taking over the canal and has quickly become arguably the most powerful syndicate within Ice Helm itself. What did you do, puppy? Did you take it? Okay. So currently the leader of the Asheborn is a Yordle named Zug. He's a little guy, about 3.5 feet tall. He's got blue hair, big mohawk going up the center. The sides are completely buzzed down. He was the leader of the Lions Guild. He was actually one of the founding members of the Lion Guild itself, and really was the one responsible for creating that loan shark organization to become the conglomerate that it is now. Direct membership within the Asheborn is roughly 10,000 active members, but they have reached far past that with constant initiates coming in and individuals wanting to get in with the syndicate itself simply to make a better life for themselves, or because they are pressured, they think it's cool, family members, all the normal reasons why people get involved in organized crime. And he really, Zug really is the one responsible for all of this. So with Zug, a little bit more about his physical appearance, because he is a striking individual. He has a blue mohawk buzzed completely down the side. The rest of his hair is fairly short, completely blue with some brown spots in it. He has an eye patch over one eye, a somewhat of a steampunky eye patch. It's gold on the outside with a red interior lens that no one really knows exactly what it does or if his eye is really missing, but he always has it. He's always wearing a pair of blue jeans and alligator boots as well, and he sports a flight jacket from his time in the military. He was actually an aviator for the Yordle King Riker's fleet in the Great War. He fought in that shortly after the war ended. That is when he left and went up to Ice Helm to create his empire as it is now. So one of the main objectives of the Asheborn is to grow their influence outside of Ice Helm itself. Their smuggling routes that they've developed go to serve all 5 continents very, very well. They have ties in all major cities, major capitals, and they even have relationships with high-ranking officials in most kingdoms and empires and ruling structures. So they are able to move material pretty much wherever they want, whether that is weapons, drugs, people, anything that someone is looking to traffic. They have a port of entry to be able to get that. They don't really deal with obtaining illicit material themselves. They're not really interested in owning any of this or procuring it directly. They're more interested in simply moving it. That is their business model, and they're extremely successful with that. The only 2 things that they really control directly is the canal itself, and that is because that is the key to their smuggling operation. But they still maintain their loan shark business very, very efficiently, and that is also spread outside of Ice Helm itself to other parts of the world. So one of the things that Zug has done to maintain his seat within Ice Helm itself and to ensure that he is not attacked from other parties and to keep the Asheborn itself safe is he is extremely generous to citizens of the city that live near him. He is constantly building hospitals, libraries, museums. He is refurbishing people's shops, free guild members' shops as well that are just in his territory, to give goodwill for his community and his people. The Asheborn are seen as a prominent member of Ice Helm society by many groups. They're something to look up to, something to achieve to. Joining them is an honor for many of these people simply because of the great gifts that they offer. He sponsors sporting events, family events, festivals, carnivals, you name it, that the Asheborn is providing it for individuals. What this really does is provides a mask for them for when they go off into other parts of the community and have to do atrocities. So while they may be on one side of the city throwing a carnival for kids and families where there's cotton candy and roasted almonds, on the other side of the city they're smuggling through sex trafficking, and if something goes wrong, they may be murdering all of their cargo cold-heartedly. There's no second thoughts about it. So there are 2 sides to this coin entirely. They are definitely an evil organization, but they have a lot of noble things that they do. They're not necessarily for good reasons, but it does give them this goodwill that allows them to really blend in with society. So just really quick, I'm going to go over a couple of the other key members within the Asheborn. So there are 5 main individuals that work within the Asheborn society that are high profile. So Alfred, he is a male Loxodon. He is in charge of all of the books and accounting for the entire Asheborn organization. So he is a very public figure because he's the one that has to show the accounts for the Accountants Guild, the Guild of Numbers, which I'll get into in another video, and really showing where the Asheborn lie. So it's extremely important that he is a public figure because everyone needs to trust him with his figures that he provides. And he's also the one that more or less garners the votes and the sway that the Asheborn need in order to maintain their position within the council. So Crix, female Tabaxi, she is in charge of the fingermen for the Asheborn itself. More or less, if someone is creating an issue, someone is asking the wrong questions, she is responsible for making sure that that person vanishes. A very, very terrifying individual, known by reputation, and she garners that reputation just because she wants you to know that if you're doing something that's going to step out of line, she will be the last one that you see if you see anyone ever again. So Wolf, He is a Ursine male. He is their master of arms for the Asheborn, and he's also in charge of their private military and security organization. He is very well known throughout the city as a symbol of their strength. He is a previous pit brawler who garnered fame across 4 of the main continents of Hyperion, and is a very, very terrifying individual. He strikes fear into people just simply seeing him. He's very tall for an Ursine. I mean, he's 11 feet tall, this guy. So he's almost giant sized, and it's a big bear with a lot of weapons, and he knows how to use them. So he strikes fear. He's more of like a shock trooper for the entire city itself, to really not mess with the Asheborn. So Brill is the master of the docks and the canals. He is a Terran. He's really the person who, if anyone wants to move anything through the city, they need to speak to him. Finally, Moxie. So Moxie works directly with Brill. She is a female elf. She is responsible for actually making sure that your shipment gets from point A to point B. She will take care of any customs or any security that needs to be hoodwinked, and she's ultimately the one that figures out all of these shipments. And she's kind of has a little bit more of a low profile. Not everyone knows about her unless you're in the smuggling business, and then everyone knows about Moxie. So another important thing to note, if you're paying attention throughout this video, is that no one in the Asheborn has a last name. And that is because when they join the Asheborn, you're joining a very tight-knit brotherhood. Yes, there are 10,000 of them, but it's extremely tight-knit. And when you take on the mantle of being an Asheborn, you forego your last name. It completely vanishes, it goes away. You do not have that anymore. You are simply known by your first name. If anyone asks what your last name is, you just say, I'm a member of the Asheborn. And at least in Ice Helm and throughout many parts of the world, that is simply understood. So yeah, I hope that is a little bit of a sneak peek into the Asheborn for you. There's a lot more about these guys that I wasn't able to fit into the video, but that kind of is some of the fun for you guys to explore yourself when you're going through the town. And a lot of the stuff is going to be determined, you know, by how the game runs itself. So if you're new here and you happen to come across this and you like this video, think that it's some interesting little bits of lore, please feel free to follow, comment down in the video. Always love new people here. And for those of you who are actually playing with me, well, we'll see this in the world. Bye.